Bloomberg Audio Studios.
Podcasts, radio, news.
This is Bloomberg Businessweek. Insight from the reporters and editors who bring you America's most trusted business magazine, plus global business, finance, and tech news. The Bloomberg Businessweek podcast with Carol Massar and Tim Stenovec from Bloomberg Radio.
I love it when Tim Stenovec dances to Madonna. Oh my God, it is just very special.
You know why I'm so happy?
Because we're live at the U.S. Open again. It's something we look forward to every year.
Best 2 days of, well, can I say that? I don't want to I don't want to make the other days feel bad, but.
Sorry, it's out there already.
Yeah, it's pretty fun being here at the U.S. Open. We're in the shadow of Arthur Ashe Stadium at the 2024 U.S. Open. There are a lot of people here this year, Carol. The U.S. Open on Monday, opening day.
Yes.
The biggest single-day crowd in the history of the U.S. Open, 74,641 people were here.
I feel like every year that we come here, we hear like other records being broken.
Yeah.
We can tell you from experience, the ticket resale market also hot. The cheapest ticket, you did some homework on this.
Because I had to pay for it.
You said, right? It was more than $300 for a day session.
$308 for Arthur Ashe tomorrow, the noon slot. My wife is coming. I got the media pass. We're good.
Fantastic. Let's get to the person who's involved in all of this. Kirsten Corio is back with us. She's USTA Chief Commercial Officer on site with us here at the U.S. Open. Man, it feels like a good year already.
It's a bonkers, spectacular year yet again. And I will have you know that the original ticket price, I'm glad you said resale and not
resale.
individual, because the original ticket price, the lowest we had was $32 at the time of original on sale. So you just have to buy earlier.
Does this drive you crazy, though? Does this drive you crazy that instead of the USTA getting the $308 that we spent on tomorrow's noon session, it's Ticketmaster or whoever we bought it from?
It doesn't drive me crazy. And you know what? It's most likely from a U.S. Open subscriber who buys all Arthur Ashe sessions who couldn't make it for the day session. Really, I mean, even the most Uber fan doesn't make it out for every single one of the 25 Arthur Ashe sessions, so it's probably one of them, and I don't begrudge them their ability to resell their ticket.
How much of the tickets are sold ahead of time? I remember you saying something I thought last year. A lot of stuff gets sold out, right?
Yeah, so we had just unprecedented demand all year. When we first went on sale, the original American Express early access for the pre-sale, we sold as many tickets in the first hour as we did in 5 days last year.
Wow.
So it's just double-digit percentages up. The on-sale a week later, double-digit percentages up. The demand is nuts.
There was this big concern 2 years ago that with Serena Williams no longer playing, that you wouldn't see huge demand here in the U.S. That obviously wasn't the case. We talked to you about that last year. How do you explain the growth from last year to this year, though?
I think there are nearly 1 million people, 957,000 to be exact, who enjoyed the 2023 U.S. Open, who said, man, I'm definitely coming back in 2024, and I'm going to take some more friends with me, and I'm going to tell all my friends. That's the simplest answer I can give you. But, beyond just the success of this event, it feels like for the past few years, tennis has been having a moment. More people in the U.S. are playing tennis.
Zendaya's
and
in a
perhaps
movie about tennis.
Yeah, Challengers, the movie. Zendaya representing the sport beautifully. And I just have to, credit the growth of tennis participation as an element in the desire for people to come out and see the top pros in the world.
Kirsten, how many people are returnees? Like what percentage of folks are just coming to the Open year after year after year?
Oh, a lot. Yeah. More than 50% of our Arthur Ashe tickets are sold to full series ticket subscribers who do purchase all 25 sessions year in, year out, and those renew at 98, 99%.
Which is amazing. And what about the age demographics? Like, I think we've talked with you about this, and I feel like golf went through it. Maybe, I don't know if tennis ever went through a little bit of a lull or people were worried. I don't know that was the case. But I mean, is it continuing to attract a younger generation as well?
Well, I think the short answer is yes, but Fan Week, which is now part of the 3-week and 1-day U.S. Open. The main draw runs for 2 weeks. The qualifying tournament runs the week prior that we've called Fan Week, and we built in all kinds of tentpole events to attract a more diverse younger audience, younger families to that. We had a record 216,000 people come through that week, that Fan Week. And so that's really the way that we can attract a younger audience, a younger demographic. We gave away 10,000 free rackets thanks to Wilson. during that week, and we have Heineken happy hours from 5 to 7 every one of those days, a block party. So I think that's a factor too in trying to attract a younger audience to how cool it is to be out here.
It works,
Flushing.
and it translates into people coming to the Open.
Yeah.
Fan week. Yeah.
How much more capacity do you have? When we talk about the number that came on Monday, more than 74,000.
Yeah.
Can you actually fit more people here?
We can't fit more people in the stadium. The stadium's capacity, Arthur Ashe Stadium is a fixed capacity. Louis Armstrong is a fixed capacity. But we also now are selling evening grounds passes, which is something we haven't done for a while. So we can get more people. We didn't like the concept of not allowing people to come into the grounds if there's tennis being played outside of those two stadiums, and you can go freely and watch those if you stay all day with a grounds pass. But if you only want to come for the evening and watch those matches, we'll sell you a grounds evening.
When are those matches taking
pass.
place in the first? Are they in the second week? Or do you have
in the
evening
early
grounds?
rounds? In the first and in the first and second round, you know, every one of our courts is filled with competition, and some courts have matches that will run all the way up until midnight, depending on how long the matches are. If they're quick matches, perhaps not. But you know, in our first 4 nights of the first 2 rounds, you're likely to catch some great tennis on the outer courts as well as inside the stadiums.
Some of the matches not so quick.
Yes, we had a record-breaking match.
Was it Sebastian?
Sebastian, who's on camera and actually doing everything right now, he came out here for a match. Was it Monday, Sebastian?
That you got home and the match was still going on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Went
and,
to the
and
left,
that trip
left
home
here,
is like an hour and a half. It was a 5-hour match.
Left
5
here.
hours, 35 minutes. It's the longest match in
knows?
U.S. Open history between Karen Khachanov and Daniel Evans. And just an incredible, another record, another amazing statistic about the 2024 U.S. Open.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I have to say, when I walked in, I was just blown away by the crowd even looking bigger than last year. And I don't know if that's the case, but it really amazes me, and over the years of coming here, just how it continues to grow.
Yeah, and so we think we're going to get 1 million fans through the 3 weeks in one day on
Which
site
would be a
this
record,
year,
right?
which would be a record. Last year, 957,000. This year, we're on track to meet and exceed that record. The weather's been great.
Yeah.
And that definitely helps people come out. And the events that we added through Fan Week and into the finals weekend, we've added a finals weekend festival and watch party in Louis Armstrong Stadium, as well as a finals weekend Fan Fest after party Saturday night.
Does it ever end
after
for
the
you?
women's final? You know, we'll sleep a little bit on September 9th.
Well, you start all over again then for next
Well,
year.
you know
I how
what?
this works.
I noticed, I think last year when you rolled up to be interviewed by us, you had a big energy drink with you. And I don't see the energy drink right now. So I think that's a good sign as to where we are in the tournament. You're feeling good?
We're feeling great.
Okay.
Yeah, next week we might need a little bit more of the adrenaline and the energy drink, but we're feeling great. We're just energized and exhilarated to see it all come to life.
You mentioned the weather, which I know yesterday was a really, really hot day. Do you see a decline in the number of fans who come out when a day is so hot? I mean, so hot that some of the tennis players complain about it.
Yeah, I think that's a factor. You know, I think there are certain people, especially those that have had the privilege of being out to sessions before, either this year or other years, who may make a judgment call of if they don't feel that they can handle being in 90-plus degree heat. I think that's a factor, but we also we may have broken another record yesterday in attendance.
Even though it was so unbearably hot. That's pretty amazing.
That is amazing.
I have to tell you, I have a friend here, a young couple, and they have their 7-month-old here too. So
Wow.
you are creating younger fan base.
Great.
And they're from out of town and come in for this event. So how do you think about year after year, how you you continue some of the things that are working, how you think about new ways, right? Because you think about revenue streams and
Sure.
how do you continue to build out the business?
So on the business side,
And keeping a balance of keeping the sport pure, that
Yeah.
people don't walk through and feel like it's too commercial.
that's why Fan Week, and I'm sorry, I'm going to keep harping on it, it's
That's
such
okay.
an important investment for us, and it is free for all fans to attend every one of those days, 7 days to come in, free to go into Arthur Ashe Stadium and watch the top pros practicing. You can sit in the front row. A few days ago, I walked in before the main draw and saw Coco playing a practice match against Sabalenka,
Which is amazing.
in Arthur Ashe Stadium, competitively, but it's a practice match. And I'm looking at the fans sitting around that court who got in for free, and I'm thinking they're seeing a reprise of the women's final last year for free. So that's really important.
Yeah.
Now, business is, of course, very important too, and we do know that 50%-ish of people who attend Fan Week do ultimately buy tickets for the main draw. So it is a pipeline to build future fans. Adding tentpole events during that during that Fan Week that are ticketed events is helping grow the business as well and provide more exposure for our players. And so when we think about ticket sales and hospitality and premium, which are primary revenue streams, that's sort of how we begin to introduce and test new ticketed products.
Right.
On the premium and experience side, we've been adding new products to meet some of that experiential demand. This year we have a finals weekend clinic. A very limited number of clients will have the privilege of doing that, playing on a court with Andre Agassi and Andy Roddick before the men's final, before the women's final, and sitting in the courtside premiere, first few rows ticketed product. And so hospitality and experiences are a big part of that too.
How limited? You said that's a limited experience.
I
Carol,
think
are you trying to
No, I
24.
for a ticket
I
or
would
something?
not embarrass myself.
24 for each session. Yeah.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That's a pretty cool thing.
And the women sold out first, which we also love that
Who are
too.
they working with on the women? Same thing?
Same
folks?
but the draw being the women's final.
Love that.
How are things looking on the sponsorship side in terms of demand, what you're hearing from companies, the appetite for them to come back and extend their agreements and partnerships with you guys?
They've been great. We've got a small-ish roster of partners, 24 official sponsors, 7 of which have been with us for more than 30 years.
Just amazing.
So there's a really strong renewal history and track record here, and you see our partners on the grounds activating everywhere and entertaining their own clients, but also interacting with fans and enhancing the experience for fans. The MX Fan Experience was open during Fan Week as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we added 2 new partners this year. We added Destination DC for Washington, D.C. tourism, and we added Moet as our official champagne partner, which has come in handy.
Are you able to reliably raise prices each year for those brand opportunities to keep the revenue growing at the USTA from that side?
As long as we can demonstrate more value to the partner, the market, the value of the partnership can increase. But it's all dependent on what value does the partner wish to extract from the U.S. Open, and how can we quantify and qualify, the value that we've been able to deliver to that partner over their term.
What's fun about the sports world for you? Because you spent, 14 years at the NBA. I know we always bring this up, but I think here you're doing, tennis. There's so much going on. We've had a week where the NFL said, okay, for private equity to buy into, firms. We have been doing a lot of stuff at Businessweek about the explosion of gambling, basically, right? When it comes to all things sports. But what's interesting for you to kind of watch this progression and where things are?
Sports is just fun. Sports and live entertainment, to me, it's great. You can't predict everything, and that's what makes it really serendipitous and fun, but also sometimes stressful. Sometimes the energy drink is required. But we also, we just announced yesterday with our partners, ESPN, that we've extended our relationship through 2037. It will be the longest deal in tennis. And they're a fantastic partner, and we couldn't be more thrilled about that. So that's the big fun news from yesterday that did require a little help from our partner Moet in celebrating that one. But that makes it really fun.
A couple of bottles, like a couple corks
maybe,
went off.
Maybe.
Maybe.
When we speak to you next year, what's going to be the biggest change?
Wow, for the 2025 U.S. Open.
Yeah, we're already thinking about it.
Yeah, we're
we
about.
Know you are. You will be in a week.
We sure are. I mean,
a couple weeks.
It's interesting. Like, day one begins, and we already have a 2025 list beginning of, okay, we're going to do this differently for next year. But, I'll say when we look at the Fan Week and the tentpole events, we love them. We want to make them bigger, better, more exciting performances, and they really are a testing ground for us. You can't predict the competition on the court in the main draw, but you can plan for and create new experiences for the fans that come out and new ways to deliver that to people digitally. And when we think about digital, you may not see it here on the grounds. If you wanted to take a walk over to the Advantage Arena, you could play Fortnite. You could play U.S. Open Fortnite.
Right.
5 million people have played it so far.
Kirsten, always good to see you.
Good.
Chief
Thanks for
Commercial
having me.
Officer of the USTA, Kirsten Corio, joining us here at the U.S. Open.
You're listening to the Bloomberg Businessweek podcast. Catch us live weekday afternoons from 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern. Listen on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app. Or watch us live on YouTube.
Yes, we are at the U.S. Open and just loving it. Just perfect weather. I got to say, there are few certain truths when it comes to the U.S. Open. There's the honeydews.
Okay, yeah, check.
Matches that stretch into the middle of the night that can go on for a long time.
Fans love it. Players, not so much.
Not so much.
Okay.
A definite New York vibe.
Yeah.
Even though it's global, but
rowdy
New York.
crowd. We can hear them right now.
Right? Like, we love it when like somebody
energy.
scores a great like point or something.
Yeah.
Like, you just hear the crowd. Sponsors, logos.
They're plastered everywhere. They've been for years, like, JP Morgan, Chase, Emirates, Chubb, IBM, and of course, American Express.
Longtime partner of the U.S. Open. Amex has been a brand sponsor of the U.S. Open for more than 30 years. We just talked with Kirsten about some of the brands, a handful or so, that have been with them for a long time, and that includes American Express.
Yeah, Shiz Suzuki can tell us exactly why and where they see the value. She's Vice President of Global Brand Sponsorships and Experiential Marketing at American Express. She joins us on site here at the U.S. Open. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thanks for having me.
Another year, another partnership
year.
between Amex and the U.S. Open.
I know. This is our 31st year, if you can believe it.
Well, what keeps you coming back? I mean, this is a big ticket event. This is a big ticket item. You have to see ROI from where you sit at Amex. What keeps you coming back?
I mean, ultimately, right, we are not just in the card business. We are really in the business of membership. And when we talk about membership, it's about all the value that we bring to our card members and our prospective card members. So that could be at things like live sports and incredible moments like here, music, entertainment, and other. How do we bring them that incredible access and value, right? And so when you think about U.S. Open, I mean, this is such an incredible event right here in New York City, and would not want to be anywhere else.
What does an event specifically like the U.S. Open do for your membership base?
Yeah,
like, what is the feedback you hear, or what do you see?
It's number one, it's an incredible event, right? And I'm sure Kirsten talked a little bit about even the growth of the fan base, right, and their ticket sales, etc. But even in tennis, fandom overall has grown actually year after year for the last few years. For us, we really think about this event. We are able to bring something for everyone because there is so much to offer here. We have a 20,000 square foot fan experience space. And so it is all indoors, especially on really hot summer New York days. Like yesterday. But the first floor is actually open to everyone. And so it's a fan experience space. We've got everything from glow tennis. We have this really incredible customizable tennis ball station this year. We have, things like, we actually have a 2K, so like the actual video game 2K Top Spin. We have some gaming stations there. We have this really fun trivia-based more machine. It's a vending machine. It's like size of a human. There's some trivia in there, and depending on if you get the answers right or wrong, there's some great prizes as well. So we've got that. Upstairs, we've got a card member lounge as well. So, yeah.
So when you're a few months from now, or even just a couple of weeks from now, when you're looking at the numbers, to justify the marketing spend here, what are the metrics that you're looking at to know whether or not it was successful?
I mean, we're looking at everything from certainly, right, ticket sales and the attendance here, but we're also looking at for ourselves engagement reach, things of that nature, right? Like, what are the numbers of people that are coming by? And, we'll look at that from the perspective of like our existing card member base and other opportunities there. And then certainly, right, there's going to be all the qualitative feedback as well in terms of like, how much do they love it? Like, we hear such great feedback about the things that we offer.
Do you want to see an increase in number of people who are signing up for certain cards after an event like this, like a platinum card, for example?
Yeah, that would be fantastic, right?
Are you able to measure that? Like, are you able to draw a line from this to that?
Yeah, there's different ways in which we're able to draw and like be able to talk about like ROI overall for the business. Certainly, yeah. I think for us too, right? When we think about the audience here, how this has also changed, right? It continues to get younger. We think about Gen Z and millennial audiences. For us, like when we think about even 2023 overall as a business, we've actually publicly talked about the fact that like 60% of all new cards acquired in consumer is actually in that like Gen Z millennial base. And 75% of that is actually in the platinum and gold cards. So you think about premium card segments and the growth of that younger demographic. Right. Fans here are also getting younger as well. And so it's a great, incredible opportunity for us to engage them at all different levels.
Well, that's what I think we wonder. Like we always think about, you do something and then what's the direct payoff? And maybe and that's what I guess I'm curious about, and I think Tim is too, is do you actually sign up people that come here to this event, or is it more about like brand recognition and understanding what Amex is about, even for like a younger consumer?
I would say it's all of the above, right?
Yeah.
So really, if you think about it from the angle of brand consideration, a brand is really that, like, there is so much that goes into that. It's a long-term relationship that you build with somebody.
Right.
And so,
I mean, I've had my
right?
Amex to be, full disclosure, since college, and so that's a long time.
Well, we thank you for that.
You're
We thank you
welcome.
for that. But yeah, I mean, I think it is that. Like, every single touch point, it's like a relationship with anybody else, right? We're obviously, right, this is from a brand perspective.
Right.
But just the same way you would build a relationship with anybody else, it takes many, many touch points to get to that, right? You build the trust, the relationship,
Yeah.
That's what we're really here to do.
It's funny. I actually surprised to see that there is one of your biggest competitors here as one of the sponsors as well. You don't oftentimes see that with different events.
Does that make you angry? No.
No, we just do it
That
better.
wasn't going to be my question, Phil, but I'm glad you went there.
I would be a little angry.
She's just going to skip 2025 when she comes back.
Sorry.
But how do you stand out in an environment where Chase does have an airport lounge? Chase does have a lounge here.
Sure.
How do you justify to a member paying $700 a year when there are competitors out there who offer similar experiences?
Yeah, I think for us, we stay focused on our card member base and that future card member base, right? So we're constantly looking at, right, what is the data? What is the feedback? What are all the different places that people are going to show up? For us, right, we've been here for 31 years at the U.S. Open, but this is one of an entire portfolio, by the way, of the places that we are, whether that be in like lifestyle, entertainment, music. Last year, we kicked off and announced our partnership with Formula One in the Americas region.
Right.
And so, right, we are staying ahead of in terms of like all the passion points and the places where the people that are our card members want to be. And so that is really, like, if you think about it from an holistic perspective, right, it is about the holistic offering.
Shiz, talk to us a little bit about the path. Like, I think of, pre-pandemic, pandemic hits, right?
Yes.
Nobody's traveling. And you
Yes.
guys did a lot of things to adapt to people being at home.
Yes.
And then we're, slowly coming out of the pandemic. And
Yeah.
now we've seen a ton of traveling. Like, where are we post-pandemic, what you guys are seeing from consumers?
Yeah, actually, we had a 2024 travel trends report that we released. And actually, when we look at that, almost 70% of people are going to be traveling this year, and it's related to some type of big sporting event or other.
Oh, interesting.
So the trends there are like looking up and up as we think about that intersection of travel, fandom, etc.
Like Olympics, like, did you see a lot connected to that as well?
Olympics, right? Like any big sporting moment.
Right.
Like last year was Las Vegas Grand Prix. It was the first ever Formula One race out in Las Vegas,
I
right?
think Jason was there.
Yeah, I think so too. One of our colleagues.
Oh, fantastic.
covered it,
Yeah. So, like, you think about those types of moments and how do you bring that to life? Like, in American Express, we're at the intersection of all of that. Travel, big events, others. So,
When you think about growth in the future and attracting those card members who don't exist yet, who have not signed up, how do you think about adding different features and experiences to keep the value proposition fresh? Like, what's on the whiteboard with brainstormed ideas right now?
Yeah, I think it is about that, right? It's about where are the trends going and like how do you anticipate that as much as you can. This year, it's been really exciting. Yeah. In like the area of like even music, like we've actually done quite a bit with like the likes of Olivia Rodrigo, Billie Eilish, Dua Lipa, and so we've been able to do some really incredible moments and experiences and access for our card members, not just here in the U.S. but also globally as well.
When you look at the consumer, we've got to ask you, we'd be idiots if we didn't, and we are Bloomberg. Like, do you feel like, and I know American Express, every time we talk about the company, we say it's a certain sector of consumers, but like I said, I got mine in college. I was making no money, but that's where I started. Is the consumer doing okay? Or do you see any concerns that, we look around here and we're like, consumers are spending big time.
They are here, yeah. I mean, listen, I think at some of like the biggest moments that are out there in sports and entertainment, people are there. I mean, that's what we're seeing. That's what we want to provide for our card members. And so I think it's 2024 has been a very exciting year for all sorts of events around the world.
Are you here all 2 weeks?
I'm here. Yeah, I'm here for a good number of days. Yes, for sure.
That is not a bad
place to
yes,
be, right?
Not a bad place to be.
We might check out the lounge or something. Thank you so much. Great snapshot of what you guys are doing. And like we said, you have been American Express affiliated with it for 30 years with the U.S. Open, which is a really, really long time. Shiz Suzuki, she's Vice President of Global Brand Sponsorships and Experiential Marketing at American Express, joining us on site from the U.S. Open.
You're listening to the Bloomberg Businessweek podcast. Listen live each weekday starting at 2 p.m. Eastern on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app. You can also listen live on Amazon Alexa from our flagship New York station. Just say, Alexa, play Bloomberg 1130.
Bloomberg Businessweek, we are live at the U.S. Open in Flushing Meadows, Queen. We often say when broadcasting from the U.S. Open that, yep, no doubt it's about the tennis. It's what you see on the courts, the players, the matches. But to be fair, coming to the U.S. Open is quite an experience.
Yeah, it's the food, the merch, the people watching, the lounges. And yes, Carol, your prized honey deuces.
I still have my cup from last year.
Did you bring it back this year?
I did not.
You're going to get another one.
Maybe.
No, there's still tomorrow. You
We'll
bring
see.
it tomorrow.
We'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see. As for the food, this year the team that's behind it all, they recruited more than 20 New York City restaurants to serve their signature food and drink items at various dining venues, and you can see it as you walk around the tennis center, throughout the 2 weeks of the tournament. So to talk about it all is Chris Studley. He's back with us. He's Managing Director of Event Services at the USTA, right on site here at the U.S. Open. Nice to be back with you. How are you?
Thanks for having me back. I'm great. We've had a great year, of course. It kicked off with Fan Week just a little over a week ago. Welcomed more folks than ever before to our site during that period. People are finding out about it, right? We don't have tickets that week, and people are flooding out here to check out the action, get close to the players.
Is all food and beverage that's available this week and next week available during Fan Week?
It's a great question. So years prior, we've kind of opened up slowly, but we knew that we were promoting this and trying to get more fans interested in it. So we opened the entire food village. We opened a few restaurants as well that wouldn't have been open in the past, and people really responded well. I mean, the fans that came out, over 216,000 of them. So we set all kinds of records, and people realized, what a deal. I can come on the site for free. I can get up close with the stars of today. It's incredible.
It is pretty incredible, right? We were talking with Kirsten Corio about it earlier. Having said that, how do you think about the experiences that you want in terms of hospitality? Because we certainly see certain things that come back every year, but then there's some new stuff. So tell us about kind of the menu that you think about.
Absolutely. So we look at all the data, right? We have spreadsheets upon spreadsheets. I don't want to bore you with those details. It's more fun to talk about the drinks.
Actually, Bloomberg, we're
Bloomberg.
data people.
Sure.
So no, that's so cool. What are the
Spreadsheets is our language.
So we can look back and look at sales over prior years. I mean, I'm talking dating back to over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And we can see the trends in everything, right? What's the hot item? What needs to stay, if you will? What are we looking at that may not move? What's not moving the needle? What are our fans asking for? Maybe they're not buying. So we go in every year with a fresh perspective of, hey, in this stand, there's 3 or 4 items. This one's on the bottom. Let's refresh that. Let's do something new with it and see if it responds. So it gives us that opportunity. And just like that, over the years, when we've evaluated like this, we've gotten feedback, hey, try this, try that. And it actually shapes the food village a little bit every year. We piloted last year and the year before, we were piloting a mobile ordering system. We realized that our fans weren't really interested in it. What they wanted to do was take that walk down the food village. You mentioned it yourself.
I've done it.
Around.
I kind of love doing it and like looking. But there are sometimes lines, and I'm like, I can't wait.
Don't tell them there are lines.
I know.
The job is to make sure there are no lines.
How do you do that?
Well, you know, we look at everything from the technology that we use to process the transactions down to how the honeydew is made in a tap system now. So, by the way, you get the perfect ratio of vodka to lemonade to raspberry liqueur.
What's the guac
The
machine?
avocado.
The avocado.
Yeah, what the melon?
The
That's
Chipotle.
what they have at Chipotle to make the guacamole.
No,
That's
so we're
awesome.
like, is there something for the honeydews?
There's
for
a
the melon
tap
balls.
system.
There's
Yeah.
a tap
Well, the
system.
melon balls, so interesting story about those. You know, we're projected to hopefully do 500,000 honeydeuces this year. I think 3 melon balls per honeydeuce. You're talking 1.5 million melon balls. And we have a team that puts them on skewers. So they come in bald already, but there is a team behind the scenes.
They do come bald.
They come bald.
Okay.
Oh.
They come bald.
I was just going to say, you're going to be like, Chris is handing
They
out
come bald,
assignments.
not skewered.
No, you're handing out the assignments. You're on the melon ball team. I'm really sorry, but you're going to be like making melon balls in the back of the...
They're the
1.5 million
unsung
of them.
heroes.
1.5 million of them.
For sure.
That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
How much revenue does the honeydews bring in? Or what can you tell us?
You know,
we saw some numbers, so I'm curious.
What did you guys
Just
see?
use
Let's
your
start
calculator.
that way.
Was it
How much is the
$9
honeydews?
$9 million in sales?
Yeah, that's probably fair.
And that, wait. So
Last year we sold about 462,000.
All right, and how much are they each?
22 last year, 23 this year.
Okay, you sold how many last year?
About 462,000.
Okay.
Okay, you're gonna
So
just,
so that's about 10.6
I'll let you do
million
the
in
math.
revenue.
okay.
We-
So our
That
Elizabeth
was- yeah.
Cedron, who's very into tennis and is
Yeah.
going to be here tomorrow, combine the men's women's tournament winners get 7.2 million in winnings. So you're making more.
Well, we have to pay the whole pool of prize money.
I'm
The whole
just
pool of prize money is
saying.
much more.
I'm just saying.
There's a lot of other players that aren't the winning.
What if the winning prize money was based on just Honeydeuce revenue? So
No,
so
like take a percentage.
equal prize
like the player
money.
says, "I'll have a percentage of the Honeydeuce."
The
I'll play.
players are like, go buy your Honeydeuces.
Listen, it all helps the fan experience, right?
It does.
Everybody in our newsroom was coming up like, "You're going to the U.S. Open. I wish you were there." Our Scarlet Fu said to me, "Wait a minute. So where did the Honeydeuce recipe come from?"
Great question. I've been asked that a couple times recently. Because we keep talking about how many people are buying
brilliant.
it.
She always has good questions. She does.
Well, funny enough, this is the first year we actually did Honeydeuce merchandise. So you can get a Honeydeuce hat or a T-shirt with the recipe on the back. And they sold like wildfire, according
Seriously?
to our merchandise folks.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah, it was really popular.
So where did it come up from? How did it come about?
It came up from a Grey Goose mixologist and a few USDA folks in a kitchen here on site over 15 years ago, just before I joined the organization.
That
So
must have been a
I had
fun
nothing to do with it.
kitchen.
I can't take any credit for it.
But it must have been a fun kitchen.
Absolutely.
Because they
So
were experimenting on
they
that.
sat there and tried every different cocktail, and what's the one that resonated the most, right? What was the flavor of summer, so to
Right.
speak? So then they even came up with the 3 melon balls to represent the tennis balls in a can. So not everybody realized that, but yeah.
Was that lightning in a bottle? I mean, the way that I talk about the U.S. Open to people, they always say, what is that drink? What is that drink? What is that drink?
Yeah, everybody does.
Yeah, everybody knows about it.
It's grown over time, right? It's just taken on its own persona. Thanks social media for that, right? As that took off, the Honeydeuce takes off. It's cool to come take your picture with the Honeydeuce.
So when are you going to do a mocktail? Again, Elizabeth asks us, who says, I'm going to come, but I don't know that I want to drink alcohol, but I'd love to have a Honeydeuce mocktail.
We'd have to talk to our partners at Grey Goose and kind of figure something out if we can do that. But we do offer some mocktails and a little bit for
it's
that.
like everything without minus the vodka, minus the key
So
sponsor.
you can have lemonade.
Yes, that would be
Would you like lemonade?
And some melon balls.
Yes, lemonade with melon balls. We do offer a few mocktails on
Problem
the site.
solved.
It is a category that's growing.
Oh, it's totally growing.
It's taken
Yeah.
off,
We have so many guests come on,
Yeah.
and it's non-alcoholic beers, wines, like
Sure.
you name it.
Well, we do serve the Heineken 0.0, which is quite delicious for a non-alcoholic beer. So they are a good partner of ours as well.
On the food side of it, the prep time that goes into actually making sure that there are minimal lines, even though there are still lines.
Sure.
How do you have the balance of making sure that that the chefs are prepping ahead of time, but also making stuff to order? You're not going to get something soggy.
Yeah, so their goal is to not make the finished product days in advance for any stretch.
Right.
They're professionals what they do. I mean, even the best restaurants in New York City do a lot of prep, and they know where they can kind of cook the item to until they have to serve, and then obviously finish it. So they're the pros at that. I don't claim to be. I'm not a chef at all, nor do I work in a kitchen. But
You're an operations guy, though.
Operations guy through and through. So they know what's best. I trust them. They know what they're doing. We work with Levy Restaurants, which is a division of Compass Group.
Yeah.
They're around the world. They know what they're doing. They're pros.
So you have
Yeah, go ahead.
So do you have kitchens like all set up?
All over.
Like all over?
Oh, yeah.
And stuff's coming in
For
from
sure.
off-site?
Yeah, we have about 7 commissaries on site. I'm talking massive kitchens.
Wow.
We even have one underneath the grandstand. The public would have no idea where it is. Kitchens in the back of every restaurant. So freshest food possible. It's built to serve the areas that they're in. So
Yeah.
From an operations perspective, talk to us about how you're using technology to sort of offset where people maybe add more people where people are going, add more stuff there. What's the tech side of this?
So on the tech side, not necessarily tied to food and beverage so much,
Yeah.
but more tied to seating. Our fans, especially the first week of tennis right now with so many grounds passes and matches going on everywhere, we actually have cameras aimed at every bleacher, so you can kind of get an idea of where you're going to go, green, yellow, red, for what has seating available to kind of point people in the right direction to catch some tennis.
Love that.
All right. What's the most exclusive dining experience here?
Exclusive dining. Aces and Champions are our 2 signature restaurants. On the club level of Ash, you either need a courtside ticket or a suite ticket to access them. Those are probably what people just die to get into. The reservations are off the charts.
And what's this chicken?
The lowly media pass, Carol, will not get you in.
Yeah.
To Aces
Let me
and
know if you guys need
Champions.
anything.
Get in line.
It's okay. I got my French fries before. What's this chicken dish with caviar?
So Kokodak by restaurateur Simon Kim.
Kokodak.
So if you've heard of it, popular restaurant in the city right now,
Chris
one of the hottest
Rouser
places.
knows about
I'm
this
sure he
of our
does.
Pursuits team.
So we have the stand on the club level of Arthur Ashe Stadium, and it is just unbelievable. I mean, you can get regular chicken nuggets with dipping sauces all the way up to truffle nuggets or the caviar covered nuggets, and it's selling crazy.
I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked Kirsten just in the last 20 seconds we have with you. What's the big difference that you're already planning for next year? What's something new that's coming in 25? What are you thinking about?
we're always looking at new chefs, new restaurants, what people are craving. I'll get back to you after I look at all the data. Yeah.
Always work. This guy's always
data.
working. Always looking at the data.
That is such cool stuff. Thank you so much. And Carnegie Deli's back too.
They
right?
are. It's popular.
Very cool.
Pastrami sandwich, maybe?
Hey, I already had. What did I have?
I don't know. You had something.
Chicken gyro.
Something.
Yeah.
Delicious.
I'm going to get something.
Great.
Chris, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Good luck with it. Chris Dudley, he's Managing Director of Event Services at the USTA, joining us right here on site at the US Open.
I'm driving in my car. I turn on the radio.
How about you let me drive?
Oh, no.
Who's gonna drive you home?
Honey, please, I'll do the driving.
Drive on.
Excuse me, I want to drive.
It's the question that drives us.
This is the Drive to the Close
That funky music will drive us till the dawn.
on Bloomberg Radio.
All right, everybody, just about 18 minutes left in today's trading session. We are definitely driving to the close on this Thursday. You've got equities, as you just heard from Amy Morris, definitely off their highs of the session. And we did see some movement on the Treasury side of things following this morning's economic report. Upbeat growth is still happening. That's a good thing. Maybe a recession won't happen. We'll have to see what our next guest has to say. With us is a treat. John Musso, he's Chief Executive Officer, Director of Fixed Income at Cumberland Advisors. A firm that has been around for half a century or so, and of course a good friend, David Kotek. I think about it, like we've talked lots of conversations. You guys have seen a lot of market cycles.
Yeah,
What's
for
this
sure.
one? What does this one tell you?
We think it's elongated because of COVID, so everything takes longer.
Yeah.
You know, it took a while for inflation to set in. It took longer. It took longer for the Fed to raise rates. It's taken a longer time for the Fed to start cutting rates, which looks like it's going to happen next month. And it's taken a while for inflation to come back down, which seems like it's finally taking place as well.
So we're getting back to normal?
Getting
Whatever
back to
normal?
whatever normal is taking longer to get there.
Are you concerned that the Fed waited too long to cut rates?
I am, and because I think there's a lot of anecdotal evidence out there that the economy is moving lower, maybe a little faster than people think. You could almost read a little bit of it into Jay Powell's language, because it seems like he shifted in his not only his talk at Jackson Hole, but at the Fed meeting before that, from a concern about inflation per se to a little more concern about the job market, and that their movements going forward would be to probably hopefully keep the job market from sliding down.
Don't you think, though, I don't know, these aren't exact sciences, right? And
Anything
especially when you're getting ready to pivot, right? It's a little tricky. And, I mean, I don't know what's worse. I mean, obviously, if people are losing jobs, that's not going to be a good thing for the economy. But I also know that you've got to tame the inflation beast. But I also do wonder, John, we talked about normal. Is it a different normal when it comes to where inflation needs to run going forward because of some different macro factors, whether it's wars or climate change or whatever?
There's a lot of that at work. In the end, I'm always a little distrustful when someone says, this time it's different. You know, and you've had people say that, particularly when you talk about something like the inverted yield curve, for example. They're saying, it doesn't matter anymore because now you're like past a year and a half and we haven't gone into a slowdown. I would suggest that you can still wait and see that. And why? Because COVID has extended that time period. There was so much spending in the system. You're starting to see things like, and you've had other guests talk about it, higher rates of people, not paying their credit cards. You're seeing it. I see it personally in my email every week where I'm getting resumes from either people that have lost jobs in financial services, but also from kids getting out of college that can't get jobs. That's a far cry from where you were 2 years ago. Now, that doesn't, listen.
Is this a normalization or is this concerning to you?
I see it as a normalization given the hot market you were in 2 years
ago. So this is pre-COVID levels to you at this point?
Yeah, yes, you're at pre-COVID levels, but moving in the downward direction, right? So that's a bit of a concern.
But that's a great question. So is it, if we're getting back to normal, which is just getting back to normal, but getting back to normal can be painful on the economy.
Sure, and especially if you're the one losing their job. And, there was no question that most, if not all, of these COVID funds were spent. And that is what, of course, caused the, not damage, but the cycle that we did see on inflation. And I think you would not necessarily have been here if maybe the Fed had acted sooner back in 2021 than, wait into this March of 22.
To their defense, and I think is still the jury isn't necessarily still out, but I think there was still supply chain challenges that led to some of the inflationary pressures that we saw.
I would agree with you, Tim, and I don't think it was just that. I think it's the Fed, like back during the Great Recession, where they kept short-term interest rates at 0 to a quarter for, 7 years. The same concerns were this time. They did not want to see employment slide back just as it was coming out, and they would err on that side.
Hey, let's talk politics, because everybody loves talking about politics.
Nothing going on.
Yeah, nothing going on.
Yeah, right.
Nothing happened in November. How should bond investors think about these two candidates?
Listen, we saw in 2016, we saw yields move up when Trump got elected at overnight. Yields shot up, and they stayed elevated for the better part of about 9-10 months before they started to come down. You saw that same reaction after the first debate, and yields bounced up about almost 25 basis points from where they were, because people started to assume not only Trump winning the election, but also and particularly after the assassination attempt, a sweep of Congress, both the House and the Senate.
Yeah.
And that perception is, oh boy, if everybody's on the same side, they're going to start spending money, just like a party.
But is it also the idea that if Trump were to win, and he's talked openly about this, the idea of maybe pressuring the Fed or having input to the Fed when it comes to interest rates? He's talked about that. He said as much.
He's talked about it. I think if he really wanted to.
And I think some people are worried about the credibility of the Fed in a situation like that.
Right. My own thought is that if he won, he would keep Jay Powell in there, at least to the end of his term in 28. And one of the reasons there is that he appointed Powell. So, there's some credence level there, right? But I do think that the idea that if all parties, White House, Senate, and House of Representatives are on the same side, that is regardless of who's in power, Democrats or Republicans, because you spend because there's no check and balance, if you will. So I think the market started to assume, hey.
But my question is more about rates and pressure that he would put on any Fed chair, whether it's Powell or not. He has said that he thinks the president should have input when it comes to rates.
Is it more bark than bite?
I think it's more bark than bite, certainly, because the last thing he wants to do is have the financial markets go into a volatility mix because of what he's saying.
Right. Then he'll have no credibility.
He
will have no credibility. It's not about Fed not having credibility.
No, not at all.
All right. Got about a minute left. Yeah. So how do you invest? You're playing in the fixed income world as we're getting ready for a Fed pivot, we think. What's your advice to investors?
I think that, listen, you don't have the yields like they were last, fall.
Right.
When the 10-year hit 5%. It's
and
about
people were talking 6%.
Yeah, and you're 3.85. You can make a good case that inflation's coming down. We think bonds offer some good value. We think tax-free municipal bonds offer a really good value because they're backed up by a lot of supply. So there's a lot of high-quality investment-grade, intermediate and longer bonds at 4% plus tax-free yields. That's like over 7 when you compute it.
If you're looking at the curve, you mentioned munis, but where would you go on the curve? Would you go shorter duration at this point?
No. We would barbell it with some short-term bonds, but also some bonds out in 15 years or so, 15 to 20 years, because you're getting about 90% plus of the available yield out in 30 years. So we think that is very good value. And listen, that if Democrats win, you have a good chance of tax rates going up. So they present some good value there.
Good stuff. What a pleasure. What a treat.
Thanks.
Say hello to David. Say hello
to
the team. Really nice to see you.
It's been a pleasure.
John Musso, he is, of course, Chief Executive Officer, Director of Fixed Income at Cumberland Advisors.
This is the Bloomberg Businessweek podcast, available on Apple, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. Listen live weekday afternoons from 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern on Bloomberg.com, the iHeartRadio app, TuneIn, and the Bloomberg Business app. You can also watch us live every weekday on YouTube and always on the Bloomberg Terminal.